Today we'll be talking about mental health stigma and myths. But first, I would like to take some time to introduce our wonderful guest joining us today for today's episode. I'm Jacob, and I am a clinical psychology doctoral student.
Hi everyone, I'm Maya Boustani. I'm a clinical psychologist, a professor of psychology.
Hi, guys. I'm Chastity Banks. I am a student at Sierra.
Hi, I am Steven Martinez, and I'm a student at Sierra and Sunshine Crew.
Hi, I'm Audrey Mendoza. I'm also a student at Sierra, and I am a part of Sunshine Crew.
Alrighty, so since our students today mentioned that they are a part of Sunshine Crew, I'm a little bit interested in hearing a little bit about how you guys got involved in Sunshine Crew and perhaps maybe some of your favorite highlights during your time in this program.
Okay, I'll go first. So basically, I was a new student here. I just transferred from San Bernardino High School because my grades are horrible, so I had to get caught up. Thank God to Sierra High School helping me graduate this year. Sunshine Crew, right away I was introduced to it by a teacher. He recommended to me, he said, I think you'd be good in this, and you know, it's good to make friends and everything. And obviously, like, hearing them, like, there's gotta be like some catch, there's gotta be like extra something about it. Didn't really sound pleasing to me. So I showed up for one meeting, and it was really just an open environment. I saw like all kinds of people that I probably would have never went up to. I saw a lot of diversity, all kinds of people just talking, having fun, genuine conversations, and automatically felt welcomed. And I got to meet Steven and Chastity there, and we are now all really good friends.
Yeah, I joined Sunshine Crew, like, just because I wanted to skip class. I wanted to skip class, but when I first joined it, I was like, you know, it's actually fun. You're always doing something. There's great conversations there. You meet new people. They were very welcoming there, and that's where I met them too. You know, we started talking, doing some fun activities there, and you know, I decided to stay longer and be more a part of it, and well, that's why I joined Sunshine Crew.
I joined Sunshine Crew my third block here. My therapist recommended it to me because I'm a big speaker and I like to speak my mind, and she introduced me and told me it's a group that actually speaks their mind and talk about mental health and stuff, and I was really interested in that. So I just came to a couple of meetings and I stayed and never left.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So Sunshine Crew, it sounds like, is a space for you guys to talk about how you guys can be both student leaders on campus, but also have that peer-to-peer network with students here at Sierra. You guys also are very, very involved in doing things like raising awareness about substance use and mental health stigma, like Chastity mentioned. So we got a couple of really cool topics for today, and it starts with addressing some of like the mental health stigma and mental health myths that whether we see that around campus, in our communities, or in social media.
So one of our first questions I would like to go over with Dr. Boustani. You only need to take care of your mental health if you have mental health problems. A lot of people would say that if you have a mental health issue that you're just crazy or you're lazy, or it's kind of just, it's a you problem and you need to get over it. What would you have to say about that?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like saying, you know, you don't have to take care of your health until you're very sick, or you don't have to brush your teeth until you get a cavity, right? What do you guys think?
That does make sense, because I feel like a lot of people, they wait till like it's really bad to try to fix something. But when you put in that perspective example, like, I know that if I don't brush my teeth are going to rot, and I'm not going to walk around like that. So that definitely opens my eye a little
or like
more.
if it gets too severe to a point where you're barely noticing like the effects of having mental health, you take it seriously at that moment when you should have took it seriously at the beginning, you know, when you felt it, just like the changes in there.
And exactly, you could feel the changes in your body. You could feel yourself not getting up. You could feel yourself laying down more. You could feel yourself more sad. So I feel like if you feel that, you should speak out to someone. Just like you said with the teeth thing, if I have a cavity, I'm going to go book a dentist appointment. So if my mental health's not right, I feel like I'm going to go talk to somebody and see a doctor too.
Yeah, because if you wait too long, like you said, that tooth might rot, fall out, you know, and you don't want it to get to that point. Same thing with your car, you know, you're going to keep your oil changed and keep everything in good shape, because if you wait too long, it might be too, you know, really, really bad. Yeah. So what are some ways that you can do your cleaning your teeth and keeping your oil, you know, changes up to date when it comes to mental health? What are some of those things?
I feel like maybe getting up early, eating breakfast early, going for walks, just to take a breather, just to escape like reality, listen to your music while walking, just enjoying that moment, that's what I think.
I love that.
Surrounding yourself with others, good people.
Yeah.
Surrounding yourself with people who makes you laugh, smile, good vibes, going out more, just doing little things, not just sitting at home sad, really thinking about it.
Yeah, and definitely adding to what Chastity said, isolation is what gets you there. And I feel like she said, getting around good people, or like Steven said, giving your time that self, either in the morning, the evening, whether it's journaling or really just like going for a walk, thought processing what went on, feeling your emotions, and really understanding how am I feeling and how am I going to act on this, instead of just spiraling down, going on social media or something.
Yeah, so really kind of connecting with people is a big part of keeping yourself mentally healthy, moving your body, right? So you talked about going on walks, and taking care of your physical health can also help with your mental health. So if you're eating well, sleeping well, that's kind of like half the battle.
Yeah.
Another question we had was like, what are some lifestyle changes that can improve your mental health? Like when I first got here, I had no friends. I had like social anxiety. I'm like, I don't want to hang out with nobody, And I was always in a bad mood because I'm like, what's the point of coming to school? I would skip and everything. I'm like, until I met this one person who she started talking to me first. I'm like, if it wasn't for her or anything, I would not be here where I am right now, where I'm talking to people. I don't mind talking. I used to have like trouble talking with people, but now like when I joined Sunshine Crew, they taught me how to speak with people, how to speak my mind.
And now you're hosting a
Yeah,
podcast.
now I'm right here hosting.
Good job. Yeah. So your question was lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
So it sounds like for you, it was connecting with another person and then connecting with the community, with Sunshine Crew. That got you out of that social anxiety, and now you're a podcast host. You went from not talking to anyone, skipping school, to hosting a mental health podcast. That's amazing. So you made that lifestyle change. What other lifestyle changes have you all made to improve your mental health?
Probably, I don't know, I feel like this would be one within myself, not being judgmental. I walked into school thinking like, continuation school, everyone doesn't care that they're here, like no one's gonna want to help me with like my home, like it's automatically just a bad rep. I came in here with like a stigma against people, and having that for like the first 2 weeks of school definitely distanced me from some people. And like Steven said, joining Sunshine Crew, I got to see everyone interacting, from whether what they were wearing or how they dressed or like how they presented themselves. That really opened my mind, being like, it doesn't matter how or you present yourself or how you look. It's generally like opening your heart to people and being mindful of who they really are and keeping that in consideration.
I love that. This is my favorite topic, being non-judgmental. And Jacob knows what I'm talking about. But when you try to focus on the facts, on observable facts, it makes everything better. Can you think of an example? So for example, my kids were having a fight yesterday, and my one daughter said to my other daughter, she didn't mean it when she apologized. She was just being sassy. And I was like, okay, do you actually know that for sure?
Right.
You are judging her intention, right? You are making an assumption about her feelings and her thoughts, but you cannot open up her brain and know what she's actually thinking and what she's actually feeling. All you know is that she came and she apologized. Those are the facts. That is all that you know. And when you start practicing observing the facts and just interpreting what you can actually see and what you know to be true, that really relieves a lot of negative energy, negative thoughts, negative feelings.
So how could you, like for all three of us, what would you tell us to like, how can I not jump to conclusions when observing this action or before I talk to this person or what they're saying to me?
I like to think about if you had a security camera, observing, and you were not in the room, what would you see? So for example, if you think, oh, the teacher hates me, let's say, right? Typical thought that we might have about our teachers. What are you actually observing? What did the teacher actually say and do? She gave me a bad grade. She, I don't know, removed points for being late. What is the actual fact, right? And if you focus on that, it's like, oh, well, she's a teacher. She gave me, she took away some points because I was late. That's part of the rules. And that kind of, even if you're upset about it, you have the right to be upset about it. But when you're not putting that judgment, that intention, it just kind of helps to reduce. It doesn't mean you don't feel bad because you have a bad grade, but then you're not feeling that kind of like
Resentment, right?
yeah, festering, right? I use it a lot around when I'm driving. Trying not to judge the drivers, right?
Yes.
Instead of saying, oh, he's a jerk, he cut me off. It's like, okay, he's speeding. That is the fact. That is what I can see. I don't know that he's actually a jerk. Maybe he's a really, really good guy, you know, and he's speeding.
Or like if he's slow, he could probably be like a new driver. or
Yeah,
something like that.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. What are other examples you could practice?
My example is I came to the continuation school and I already was like a super senior. So my example was like I'm going to be like the odd one out. Like I'm not going to be able to do what everybody else is doing, or nobody's going to understand where I'm really like coming from, because I am older. But like I said, my challenge to get here was really hard and I didn't give up. So coming to Sunshine Crew, meeting them and them knowing how old I am, and I'm a super senior, but I'm still a kid. I still have emotions. I still want to do kid activities. I still like to go to field trips and stuff. It was a hard but big thing, and I'm happy I had my friends, Mrs. Ceballos, Mr. Ceballos, you, everybody around to just tell me like, you got it. You know, like you could still do what you set your mind to do after all these years.
So you remove the judgment on yourself,
Yeah.
right? So we tend to judge other people, but sometimes we are our harshest critic and we judge ourselves the most harshly. So in your case, observing the fact would be is, you know, I am an older senior. I am attending Sierra High School.
Yeah.
I am making up my credits. I am part of the Sunshine Crew. I'm working hard. Those are the facts, right? Everything else is a judgment.
Yeah.
And they may feel true, but they're not necessarily true. So repeat to yourself, feelings are not facts and thoughts are not facts.
I feel like that would save like a lot of relationships and
Yeah.
friendships. That's
I
what
like
I'm
that.
figuring out. Like,
Feelings are valid, right? You have
Yeah.
the right to feel the way. I'm not
Yeah.
saying dismiss your feelings, but they're not necessarily facts. I can feel like a piece of you know what. That doesn't mean that's what I am, right?
Do you develop mental health based on how you grew up? For example, I grew up in San Bernardino, but from like family to family, school to school, friend to friend, but I don't let that define me. So how do you feel when people think that I grew up this way, so I have to have a mental health? Something has to be wrong with me. How do you feel about that?
Well, how do you guys feel about that? This is a loaded question, and there's no straight answer.
It isn't.
Yeah.
I'd feel like with Chastity, I can agree with her. That's how I grew up. I was always house to house. You know, I like my childhood, perfect family of 4. Dad worked, mom stay at home, American dream. Had a little brother. I played every sport. And then after him passing away, all that changed. Reality hit. I was no longer straight A student. I was living with uncle, living with aunt, back and forth, messing around. So I feel like in my head at that moment, I really was like, I felt unworthy because I'm like I was a daddy's girl, so the only person that loved me is now gone, and now I'm having all these issues, fighting with my mom. I can't get along with her new boyfriend, this and that. So I feel like constantly going house to house made me feel like I'm not like no one accepts me. I'm not worthy, and I definitely had like those deep thoughts like I don't want to be here because obviously I can't stay in one house. No one wants me there. So growing up, I felt really like unseen, and like with that, it made me not want to be around anyone because I felt like if I get close to them, everyone's just eventually leave. So
It sounds like it did impact your mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
And like, what did you do to overcome it?
to overcome it, it really was like a genuine, as much as I want to say like, oh, I started like taking care of myself, blah, blah, it didn't work out for me like that. It was like, it took a lot of like nights crying on the floor, a lot of like just like honestly like one of my mechanisms, which was unhealthy, which was binge eating. Like I would just sit and cry and eat all the time because that's what I felt full. I felt like comforted that way because other people couldn't do that for me because I was never open with other people. But it was really truly a change in my mindset. I was either gonna be like, you're gonna stay like this and repeat the loop and probably end up somewhere you're not gonna want to be. And I like had to wake up one morning and decide like I want my life to be impactful. I want to have a purpose. And the way I feel, I know other people feel too, but how can I help if I stay in this constant motion of sadness and binge eating? So definitely like kind of like slapping myself in the face, like get up and you're gonna change little by little. I wasn't perfect, 7 a.m, perfect routine. Little by little, I've made little changes and now I'm here and I would consider myself a really good leader and explaining myself and helping others who go through that.
Same thing as you. I have went through that, but I didn't I lost both parents. They're not passed away on, but physically in my life, they was never there. And my mom, she tried, but I feel like it did impact my mental health. And me being the oldest and having a lot of siblings and cousins that look up to me, it was like you said, just wake up one morning and just slap myself in the face. Like, I need to really get on my stuff. I really need to motivate myself. Like, you guys, I need 10 more credits and I'm done. Like, I never expected to graduate. I did, at a point, give up in life. And having you guys and everybody else, it really helped.
And Dr. Boustani, for someone who's never gone through that, how would I be able to help, like, my friend or family member that's going through that?
Yeah, first I want to validate what you both went through, and it's normal for your mental health to be impacted when these sorts of things happen in your life, right? If you fall down, you're gonna get a bruise or an injury, right? So if you don't have parents or there's some stressors in your life, you're gonna have some impact on your mental health, and I want to normalize that. But as you're both good testaments of, that doesn't mean you're doomed and you can't do anything about it. There are things that you can do to feel better, and one of the things is connecting with friends, right? So I think that's where what you were saying, what can you do, is just to be a good friend and be there. And I'd want to throw the question back to Chastity and Audrey. What would have been helpful for you at that time from your peers, from people around you?
For me personally, probably not getting on social media or getting I was always like, I need approval from people, and that's what kind of, the moment someone would walk away is because, oh my gosh, they probably didn't like me anymore because I didn't dress this way, I wasn't acting this way around them. So definitely getting off social media and trying to find my identity in someone that I wasn't. That would have definitely probably saved me a lot of like heartache and like when it came to insecurity and how I looked or presented myself.
And for me, I could say looking for that motherly and fatherly love in others who I knew that couldn't really give it to me. Like, I have aunties, I have uncles, I have fake aunties, and I feel like put too much on them. Like, I need you to be this certain person. So for me, I feel like watching who I love and how I love others, because I did give people too much of myself. And that at the end, it always backfired to me because I'm a kind, sensitive, open person, and some people is not like that. They could be crucial and harsh, just even to a teenager. So for me, watching who I love.
And how could have friends supported you during some of these lowest times in your life?
Rubbing my back, loving me telling them something, and I know it's safe and trustworthy with them. For example, we went to a great camping trip. That's how I first met Steven and stuff, and I told him and our other friends certain things I haven't told nobody in a long time, and it felt great. It felt good to like get that off my shoulders, like somebody I could trust and talk to about it, and it won't backfire as a judgmental way. Like, I needed space. That. Yeah, a safe space is what I needed, and that's what I got from my friends.
So it sounds like you're doing it already, Steven, and you're doing it well. Just providing a safe space, non-judgmental space, right, for your friends. You can't, bring their father back or do something drastic like that, but you can just be there. Just being there is so important.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Steven was saying, how he wants to help more people. I feel like this is like a thing that we all could do. A lot of people have the stigma that kids will get good grades and have a lot of kids who have good grades and have a lot of friends do not have mental health conditions because they have nothing to be depressed about. What would you have to say about that stigma, and what are ways that we can kind of identify, yes, this person is doing well for themselves, but what's a way I can kindly approach, like, are you okay? Are things really going well for you?
Yeah. And I think a lot of times, right, kids who are doing good grades and have lots of friends are doing well, but sometimes they're not, and you just don't know what's going on behind closed doors. We had an unfortunate situation in my neighborhood where a child who was a teenager who was doing really well, cheerleader, good grades, beautiful, friends, everything you could imagine, and she unalived herself. So something was going on, and we didn't know. Nobody knew. So I think checking on people even when it seems like everything is okay, and being there for them, and not judging like, oh, she has it all, like she doesn't need, or he has it, they have it all, they don't need any support, they don't need any friends, because you don't know what's happening. We don't know what's happening in their homes. We don't know what's happening behind closed doors. They may look like they have it all together, but we actually don't know for sure.
And question on that, do you think that impacts them more? Like you said, if, for example, I knew somebody who same thing who had great grades, top of her class, she was doing well, but people put her in a box like she's fine. We don't really got to check on her. Let's worry about our other friends who I know that's doing bad. Do you think that messes with somebody mental? Like nobody wants to check on me. Everybody think I'm fine, but I'm really not. Do you think that also plays in somebody's brain that's really doing good but really need that help and more support? They don't know how to ask for it.
Yeah.
That's what basically I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, and I think it depends on, some people are fine, they're okay. They got this. They have the support at home or from other friends, and sometimes they don't. So I think it is a mistake to make an assumption, but you really just can't tell sometimes. I think just always being kind and never making an assumption that just because someone is doing well, they can handle more pressure or less friendships or less kindness. So I think just always being kind and never putting that judgment, right? We talked about that non-judgmental. It can also be the positive, right? You can't just judge that someone is doing perfect and they're amazing, because you just don't know.
It's like always be a good friend, to anybody.
You never know what someone's going through.
Yeah.
And some people are more expressive about it, so you can respond, and some people keep it inside. So you just have to kind of be there for them and be kind.
What would you have to say about, like, example, you said some people are expressive and some people are more to themselves. Do you think that one way or the other is a little dangerous if you're too expressive with your emotions, or if you're too, I don't know what's the word, kind of like reserved? Yes.
I think both extremes can be, a little bit problematic, right? So if you don't ever say anything, how are people going to know what you need? So all of our emotions have a purpose. So being sad is important because it expresses to the people around you that you need support. But if you overexpress all the time, what risks happening, you think?
Your business is put out to people that
or
maybe...
like if you express yourself to like the wrong person, they like put your business out there.
It can backfire sometimes.
Yeah. So people maybe not take you seriously, or like you said, gossip about you and spread information about you. So I think expressing what you need to the right person is kind of the best way to do it, but that's not obvious to everyone.
Yeah.
That can be hard to figure out what that right amount of sharing and the right people to share with can be tricky.
Yeah, and what do you think about, like, how can one communicate with friends and family who are closed-minded about mental health?
Ooh, that's a good question. Have any of you had to deal with that?
I feel
Definitely.
Like my dad is like, if you're just right there doing nothing, before he comes to work, I clean, I do everything I have to do so I don't get told nothing, He comes home, he's probably like, he sees me laying down or sitting down playing, and he just thinks I'm lazy and like I don't do nothing, and he'd be like, oh, I makes accusations, and like, what if I'm like, I just told him, like, for example, I'm like, what if I was like depressed or something, you over here being closed-minded, you're not really helping me out in my situation, I'm like, so how do you like tell them, like, to be more open-minded, more...
Yeah. So in your example, your dad was kind of making a judgment, right? Without really knowing the situation. Have any of you talked to your parents or other adults about mental health, and it's gone well or not so well?
I've tried to, and it's more like, you have problems. Like, you have a house. You don't have to walk to school. You have transportation. You have a phone.
I had it so much worse.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But like, I had to walk through a tornado every day to get to school. This and that. I get that talk all the time. So it's kind of like, who are you to say? Like, my mom used to hit me with this and this. I don't even hit you. Blah blah. So it kind of gets like, it makes me. They belittle me in a sense. It's just like, well, what if I am just crazy? What if I am just searching for like some type of attention or something? And it makes me like kind of think like, is something wrong with me that I want to be like seen so bad? And then it makes me think about my kind of past and like, am I going through that again?
And that's really invalidating, right? When you're feeling something, you're feeling sad or you're feeling scared, and someone tells you, well, you don't have it half as bad, right? Like, this is how I grew up, or this is how kids in other places are, what they're dealing with. And I think it's really important that you can hold two truths at the same time. It can be true that your parents had it worse and your parents parent beat them, or they lived in a harsher community. And you are also experiencing these things, right? Both things can be true, and you can hold space for your parent. Like, that sounds really tough, what you went through. And what I'm going through is also difficult for me. And that's kind of another one of my mantras is two things can be true at the same time, even if it seems like they can't.
Right.
And that's hard to, that doesn't answer your question though, right? Like, how do I get through
How do
to
I
them?
get, yeah.
Did you have some insight?
My insight is like I have an auntie and we went through like similar, like you said, similar things, but like different times of our lives, and she feels like she's the only one that has PTSD. So she feels like she could turn around and treat me a certain way, knowing we go through like so much of the similar same thing. She's like, you're not old enough yet. It hasn't unlocked in you. I can never wrap my brain around how she treats somebody who's been through the same thing as her.
So we got two different problems, right? We have the parent who's like, doesn't believe that mental health is a thing, you're just being lazy. And then we have a parental figure or a family member who's kind of on the other end. It's like, I have this, so that invalidates what everyone else is feeling, right? It's a tough one, People have to be open to learn. You cannot force knowledge or force people to accept things that they're not ready to hear. But one way that you can try is what we call I statements, where you talk about your experience. And what that does is it prevents the other person from becoming defensive, right? So if you say to your dad, for example, Steve, you don't understand what I'm going through, you don't respect me, you don't see me, now dad's gonna be like, wait, I'm gonna defend myself because I'm getting accused of being a bad dad, right? Versus if you say, I feel this way, this is my experience, they can still invalidate you, right? That's possible. But then they might be hearing it a little bit more because they're not planning their defense because they're not feeling accused. So with your auntie, what might that look like?
I don't know. We actually stopped talking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And it's just crazy because she is my favorite auntie, and it was just like...
And you had a connection.
And we had a great connection, but it's like, you don't hear me, but I hear you. And it's like, sorry, you guys.
It's okay.
It's the similarities that really get me. Because I treat, like I'm the parent. I'm treating you like I'm the parent, but you raised me half my whole life. You brag about raising me half my whole life, and you know the mental stuff that I go through. So it just really like, talking to a closed-minded person, in my opinion, is hard, especially that she's not closed-minded about herself. Mm-hmm. She feel like herself is more damaged and broken, but what about the people around you that else that's damaged and broken who tries to help you? Where's the help back?
And it's not a competition of who has it worse.
It's like she's outweighing her, in a way.
Yeah, she seems like, well, I'm more hurt than you, so you gotta push through. You're fine.
Yeah.
It's me that's yeah.
And I'm so sorry. This could have been a situation where you were bonding on those shared experiences, right? But it sounds like they kind of pulled you apart.
Yeah.
Pulled you apart. Yeah. And I don't know, what do you all there's two things that I'm thinking about here. One is, at what point do we say enough is enough, and you do have to kind of break with that person? And second, another theme that I heard is this idea of parentification, right? When a child is being put in the role of a parent because of life circumstances.
Right.
Dr. Boustani, what would you have to say for Chastity and her auntie's relationship? We can see Chastity as a beautiful character and that she is just mindful and just an awesome person. Do you think it's worth her trying to kind of navigate that relationship again with her auntie? Or like you said earlier, one of the themes, when do you know when to stop pursuing someone that they're too close-minded?
I can't answer that for you. That's for you to figure out.
And I just also want to acknowledge that, this time is a very difficult one to navigate for a lot of high schoolers where you're transitioning into adulthood. But at the same time, you guys are getting a lot of support from your friends, from family members at home. Dr. Boustani, I'm curious to know a little bit about whether you can speak to maybe cultural differences in how we talk about mental health, whether it's at home or within our communities?
Wow, that's a great question.
Right.
Just as loaded as the prior one. Well, yeah, there are cultural differences, right? But I want to preface any discussion we're going to have about this is that every person, every family has a culture, right? So we can't say Hispanics are like this and blacks are like this and Asians are like every family is different.
Yeah.
You could have, families from different ethnicities that are more similar than two families from the same ethnicity. So I wanted to preface with that. That being said, there are sometimes some patterns, right, that we see. What are some things that you've noticed maybe in your communities in terms of cultural differences in how we talk about mental health or how we approach mental health?
In my culture, it's very like, if you're a girl, you're gonna clean, you're gonna do this. There's no like there's double standards in my family. Boys, it's very like, oh, you work, good job, bare minimum, love you, love you, love you, don't do anything. It's okay, I still love you because you're my son, you're my son.
You rinsed a plate. Good job.
Yeah, good job. And then you're the daughter, it's like, you don't do enough. You need to live up to this. When you get a husband, he's not going to appreciate you because you don't do this and this. So definitely the doubled standards is something that I feel like that's impacted my mental health personally. And even my like brothers, because constantly being praised and no discipline, he's been out doing things that he shouldn't have been doing, and potentially for example, like my mom lets him do whatever he wants, because he's the boy, he has more freedom. But there's a situation in our family where he was messing around too much and he was going to be a father, and obviously that's a big life-changing moment. And I feel like if my mom came to realizing that if she would have been more disciplined and had boundaries, the boundaries she had on me had on him, that she wouldn't be running into those issues.
Yeah, and that's a common one across the world, right? Mm-hmm. Across different ethnic groups and nationalities and racial groups. Yeah. What about you, Stephen? Anything you noticed in your, whether it's your larger community or your family
probably
culture?
In my family, like a boy would have to do all like all the manly stuff, supposedly like fixing a car, mowing the lawn, doing everything outside, doing all the hard work, and I don't mind doing it, but just having that, my dad having that mentality like, oh, you have to do, you're gonna have to do this, you're gonna have to do that, because it's just like so much pressure, like I would never mind not doing it, or doing it, but just having that pressure on me 24/7, it's just like overwhelming, and it's something I want to get past, just not having that pressure no more.
Yeah. So it sounds like some, what we call machismo a little bit, right, in both of your families. Yeah. So let me throw this back at you, because you've been raised how you've been raised, right? And these boxes have been formed for you. How are you going to break those cycles, and how are you going to change things for your children, right, for the next generation?
Definitely like putting it into my children's mind that you're not boxed. Like, just because you're a girl doesn't mean you do this and this and this. You're gonna learn how to do outside work as well. You're gonna learn how to understand these things, because like you said, Chastity, like when they get married, I feel like that's where a lot of little relationship problems come in, because they move in together, they're married, and you don't know how to do your laundry. Your mom didn't teach you. And then there's an argument there, and it's oh, well, my mom always made 5-star meals and you barely know how to cook. And it's like, okay, well, I didn't grow up like, and then it's a whole argument back and forth. So I feel like the parenting is really the root of how you're going to be in life and how you are in your relationships. So definitely like explaining to my kids that you're not labeled to one thing. You are going to have experiences. You are going to be put in a lot of things, because I want you to understand all the perspectives you can, so that when you are in these situations, you can think back like, oh, you know what, this person probably doesn't know how to do this because they weren't taught this way, so let me learn how to communicate with them and guide them through, instead of being like, how do you not know this? Are you serious? Like, I didn't think I was going to date this.
Right?
Yeah, you see, that's what I'm saying.
Judgment.
So definitely explaining to them that you're going to be put through a lot of these things. I'm going to make you do a lot of these things, not because do this, and this, but I want you to understand that people you meet in life are not going to know how to do these things, and I want you to be the leader and help them. So that's definitely something I would put in my parenting style to break those generational curses.
Yeah, she done covered it all.
I agree with her.
I'm with her.
And so we talked about kind of these gender roles as part of these cultural things. How do we go like beyond that? How do different cultures think about mental health? And I understand these gender roles can impact mental health, right? Because there's all these pressures on different gender groups. what other kind of cultural differences do you see when it comes to talking about mental health, the stigma, etc.?
I feel like they say like for Mexicans, they say like their parents like I said where they don't believe in mental health. They think it's just an excuse.
You know, it's
Just
funny. I hear that a lot. They don't believe in mental
Yeah,
health,
it's
like
not
it's
a
Santa
thing.
Claus or something.
No.
It's not a thing. If you have it, you need to go
It's-
somewhere. Like
yeah,
that's
like-
not a thing.
So it's either you're crazy,
Yeah.
right, or
Or
nothing.
you're
Yeah.
nothing.
There's nothing in between.
Or it's like you're weak. Like it's an excuse. Like you
It's
like
an
for
excuse
Steven,
to not
like
do nothing, you know?
yeah, it's like you don't want to mow the lawn because you're weak. You don't want to do this. You're not a real man. You're not a real man. Oh, Dad, actually, I've been going through something that this and this, whatever. Like whatever.
It's
Stop
like-
stop having that
Suck
as
it
an
up,
excuse.
right?
Yeah. And I feel like that strongly messes with someone's head.
Yeah.
Constantly.
And how
going
do
in
we
that.
change the narrative?
I feel like I don't know, because as much as I want to say like, oh, have these families be more educated on mental health terms and stuff like this, but Spanish families tend to be like, why am I gonna waste my time learning about that? Like they're very stuck in their ways, and it's as much as it should be like, oh, we should have fairs and open fairs and families come and sit down. I'm not saying not any family would go, but in reality, a lot would not show up. I feel like a lot of Spanish people think there's always a pyramid scheme.
Catch.
Yeah, what's the catch? And that's why it's just kind of like off-putting and closing. Like, example, my grandma, she's complaining about her job and she wants to find a new job. I'm like, I have job fairs all the time. My school lets me know, and it's open to the community. And she's like, they probably need college, like, blah, blah, blah. She automatically puts a barrier on things. You can't help someone that doesn't want help. I feel like that's the first issue, and that's what makes this hard, to just help these families understand what is mental health and how can we help our children.
Yeah. And I hear everything that you're saying. And remember, two things can be true at the same time. I have seen families come around, you know, when they see that their children are struggling, they start to really see it and they start to open their mind, and then they're willing to learn and they're willing to help. And they may not go all the way to where we want them to be, but sometimes you just need a little seeds, right? And they start kind of realizing, oh yeah, and I'm struggling too, right? And all of these things I think they can change.
So where does therapy fall into this? Like, does therapy actually work, or is it just talking with no actual results?
That is also a loaded question. You guys are coming in with all these. First, I want to say it is true that there are bad therapy happens out there in the world, right? And that's why people come back and say, I don't believe in therapy. It didn't work for me. But there's also really good therapy, right? There are therapists out there that do an amazing job and make a difference in people's lives. And those are the therapists that I hope you all will work with. One thing that's really important when you're looking to start therapy is to make sure that it's a good match for you, that you can connect with that person, and also ask them what kind of therapy do they do. Because if they're going to sit around and just let you talk to them and they just listen to you, that feels nice, but it's going to be hard to actually make a change, right? You don't need a professional listener. You need someone who's going to give you actual tools to manage some of the stressors and the emotions that you're feeling. And you don't have to share this necessarily if you don't want to, but if you've been in therapy and if you're willing to share, how has that been for you? Good, bad, ugly, pretty?
I've been through therapy a lot my life. Like you said, there's some bad therapists, and then there's some great therapists that like swords you off. And I say my experience with my bad therapist, like she said, she just listened, and I felt like she wasn't really listening because she didn't answer. Like the stuff I was saying, some of it was questions, and I'm telling her like, okay, so how do I do this? And she's just like, I know how you feel. I'm like, that's not what I was looking for. I'm
Right.
looking for, you should do this, or I feel like this will help. And then at the end of the day, I feel like my best therapist was here. Like I said, she's the one who helped me get into Sunshine Crew. She's the one who, I go to the cry room and I cry to her and I scream and I yell, and she listens. I feel like a therapist is somebody, like you said, who really listens and takes in everything you say, their experiences they've seen, and really help you.
Yeah, that I think you covered it really well. Any others have maybe you've heard of people who've been to therapy, or good, bad, ugly?
I haven't personally been to therapy, or no one in my family has really gone to therapy. It's kind of more just like you need to go to therapy as a joke. Like, that's how bad you are. That's like all that's ever been mentioned of my family. But I've been interested in going to therapy because I feel like there's things that I can maintain and I'm able to talk about and help people with. But I love to get a deeper understanding so that when I do have conversations with people, like, you know what, I went through this and this, but this is what professionally helped me. This is what was guided that I should do. And I feel like it would be just a nice, like, having that extra knowledge. It's never bad to know more things. So,
And you're learning so many things,
Yeah.
right, as part of Sunshine Crew.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that going to therapy is an insult.
yeah.
It's not okay.
I recommend it to a lot of people too, because it's nice. Like, yeah, it is some bad therapists, but if you find that right therapist, they could teach you so much things. Because when we had a Sunshine Group meeting, we was actually talking about the Sunshine people becoming
Peer advocates.
like
Peer
peer
counselors.
advocates, like, you know, like helping. And I was actually interested in it because I feel like therapy, it is an important thing in mental health.
And I'll just say, just to wrap up this topic, there are a lot of research studies, right? There's a lot of research done on therapies, different types of therapies, to determine what works best. So we know, for example, that active therapy, the opposite of what you were saying, your therapist just listening and how does that make you feel, and not really kind of engaging with you. Those don't work as well as therapies where there's a plan, right? Where we have goals. We're going to work on this. I'm going to teach you how to do that. I'm going to, those are the ones that are most effective, and we know that. So there is some scientific evidence, to answer your question kind of straight up. There is scientific evidence that therapy does work, but it has to follow certain kind of parameters, right? There are some things that need to happen for it to work. Otherwise, it's not going to be any more effective than talking to a friend.
And here at Sierra High School, one of the amazing things is that we have this integrated wellness center where there are clinicians that provide both individual and group therapy. Again, I wanted to thank you all today, our 3 members from Sunshine Crew, in addition to Dr. Maya Boustani, for joining us for our first episode. It was great learning about your guys' experiences with mental health and addressing mental health stigma, and your guys' role here at Sierra High School to create that safe space for other students like you guys who may be navigating through a very difficult time. But also, you guys are student leaders in this community that are in a position to uplift those around you. So give yourselves a pat on the back and yeah, congratulations on your first podcast episode.
Thank you.
Thank
Very,
you.
very well done.